Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity.
It is a holiday weekend, Memorial Day tomorrow. I'm sure many of you have plans, so we appreciate you being here this morning, taking time over the course of a busy weekend to be here. We're going to lean into our daily word this morning with thinking about the idea of comfort. Memorial Day is when we think about those who have passed, especially I think those who have given themselves in service to our country. But when someone dear to me transitions, I may feel fearful and alone. I do not hide from my feelings or seek to numb them, even if I feel tempted. Grief has come to pass, but it cannot pass until I acknowledge and feel it. Opening to all my heart is holding. I feel a presence far stronger than pain. Even in the deepest grief, divine love is strong within me, lifting me, making my feelings bearable. As I feel comforted by this love, I become increasingly aware of the peace and strength in my heart. Even in my grief, I am grateful to trust the healing comfort of divine love. It blesses me today and will be an ongoing presence as I need it. My love for those I have lost is eternal and unchanging, just like God's love for me. And Matthew 5:4 says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." So I invite you to take a breath of that. And as you're thinking about this idea of comfort today, I know Reverend Karen is getting ready to come and give us some input and thoughts about how we can work with forgiveness. When you're grieving, a lot of times there comes up an opportunity to forgive, doesn't there? And I made a comment the other day to someone, and it makes me think, right now, in this post-COVID environment, we are a nation of grieving people that don't know we are grieving. We're still very much in a grieving process. We've lost people, we have lost jobs, we have lost relationships, we have lost things that we thought were the norm, things that have not necessarily returned to the way they were. So it's important to look at how you may be going through some grief in this current situation, and how the lesson that we're going to have on forgiveness might help with that. I see the two being juxtaposed really nicely together this morning. So Reverend Karen, please come up and lead us into a nice hearty discussion about how we can practice forgiveness and maybe why it's important.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, so good to be here. And it's so true, isn't it? I was praying about what it is that I could possibly talk about this morning. I always want to talk about something that, we all really need. And the word forgiveness kept coming up to me, and I was like, oh no, I can't teach. That's what I need. So I am here to teach what I most need to learn. So I hope, it's a really wonderful way to segue into that, Reverend Leah, is that, there's a sense of grief, a sense of incompleteness, a sense of something wanting, or the opposite, we're just mad. Is anybody having problems with forgiving besides me? Just let me see your hands. Oh, thank you. I'm talking to the right audience. Thank you so much. So let's look at that word forgiveness a little bit and see what's our motivation. Why? Why should we forgive? Forgiveness is really just a very complex and profound human process. And it involves letting go. It involves letting go of grudges, letting go of resentments, letting go. But it's also seen as a virtue that in many cultures and in many religions, and in a lot of recent scientific research, forgiveness is looked upon as a way for us to become fully human and to be in relationship with one another. That fully human also means fully divine. We're not separating that. In psychology, forgiveness is linked to improved mental health, and studies have shown that individuals who practice forgiveness experience lower levels of depression and anxiety and stress. And you know how you have that thought that goes over and over and over and over again in your mind, rumination? It also helps break that cycle of rumination. And the act of forgiveness has tangible physiological benefits. It can lower blood pressure. It can help with immune functions. Neuroscience, and I love the neuroscience stuff, but neuroscience is looking at MRI studies. And when people forgive, it helps with prefrontal cortex development and access. We all need that because that is how we make good decisions and have emotional regulation. And beyond all of that is a social sense. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. We're going to talk about the harmony and the social sense and the community that forgiveness can give. It fosters this big word called reconciliation. Reconciliation means, real simply, that you're reconciling, you're bringing together, you're bringing in harmony, opposites, or things that don't seem to be the same. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why forgiveness is beneficial. Because it helps us get in our bodies, it helps us relate to other people, it helps us to just continue a spiritual path. And forgiveness is a process. It's not a static one-time thing. It's a process. So in the teachings of Jesus had a lot to say about forgiveness. In fact, there's a biblical scholar that I really like. His name is J.D. Crowson. He's Irish, and he puts a real different look on Jesus' healings. And Crowson looked at Jesus' healings not only as healing the person, but healing the societal norms. So it was breaking through crystallizations in our societies, in our thinkings. Thank you. And you really can see all the ways that Jesus said, no, we're here for each other. Jesus taught in many ways. Jesus' whole mission was reconciliation, bringing together two separate things and bringing them into a path where we can really experience what is often called, and he called it, of course, the kingdom of God. Well, you know, that's kind of this mystical thing, and we look sometimes at the kingdom of God being out there. Okay, Unitix, where's the kingdom of God? Thank you. We know the kingdom of God is within us. So how do we access that and bring it out more and more? How do we access out and bring that out more and more within ourselves? And Jesus had a lot to say about forgiveness. He talked about unconditional forgiveness, boundless forgiveness. When he talked about when he was asked, how many times should we forgive? 7 times 70, which means you just keep going. You just keep going. Don't stop. Just keep going. So we talk again and again about the principles of forgiveness brings us into love and compassion. Wow. If I forgive, I can feel more loving and compassion. Am I really willing to be loving and compassion? It's a hard one, but we're going to get through this. I really want to be. Oh, goodness. I know I want to be. Okay, we're going to do this. So, but Jesus emphasizes something kind of odd, and this is what Crowson again brought out, that there's a reciprocalness about forgiveness. It's kind of like that principle as we sow, so shall we reap. And he says all the time, forgive your debts. Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors. There's a reciprocalness about that, isn't there? If we can go deeper and deeper into our path of forgiveness, how much more will we feel that sense of forgiveness? And forgiveness is advocating for unconditional, limitless forgiveness rooted in love and compassion. And these are the principles that Jesus saw for the kingdom of God. Wow. The kingdom of God in unity, it's not an exit plan. It's not something we get to later. It's something we get to minute by minute by minute through our dedication of releasing our mind thoughts that limit us and that we can turn within over and over again, over and over again. And we're going to talk about some very distinct paths to get there. Myrtle and Charles, founders, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. I talk about them at first name basis because I have read them for so much. I just feel like I know them. Myrtle and Charles? Okay, but it's Myrtle and Charles Fillmore who were the co-founders of Unity. Okay. And they emphasize forgiveness in a little bit different way. Charles would say, you need to forgive to release the blocks because you're already perfect. You're already whole. And all the stuff that we're telling ourselves are just the blocks. We don't need it. That's what Charles would say. Myrtle was always a little different. They had a little bit different twist on things. And she saw that forgiveness led to the path of being able to see the divinity within all people. Woo, I know. So isn't that wonderful to be able to see the divinity within all people? Well, I can see your God, but why do you act like that? You know? That's where I'm at. Okay, but I'm working on it, and I hope you are too. But Charles and Myrtle, and throughout all the Unity teachings, really looked at forgiveness as crucial, essential. And in the little research that I did, I could not find any religion that did not teach forgiveness. Let me say it differently. All religions teach forgiveness. Wow, isn't that different? They all get there a little differently. But it's a common bound. It's a common oneness. It's that interconnection of all life. Interdependence on one another. And we know it on so many levels. I want to talk about two paths that were really, really instrumental in my life. And I hope that, this is the kind of conversation that I just wish we were in a big old room where you could just hear everybody's path on forgiveness, because I think the more we talk about it, the more that we get that sense of, oh, well, maybe I am doing it, So, okay. I want to talk about the Course in Miracles. In Unity of Greenville, we have a wonderful church with wonderful resources. We have a lot of small groups. We have lots of ways that you can access those groups. And one of them is the Course in Miracles. My friend Linda has a healing ministry. So she's always teaching about healings that come from Jesus and come on. And we also have lots of ways, art. We have listening to Eye of the Storm, those. Unity of Greenville really has a lot of resources. Just turn into the calendar and come on out. And one of those resources is A Course in Miracles. And it meets on Fridays. Oh, good. Good. Yes, it does. And Course in Miracles, it was a really, really important part of my life. I was introduced to the Course by a woman who was actually a Unity minister for a while and in Indianapolis. And she had been a very long time Course practitioner for like 30 or 40 years. And all this stuff that kept coming up for me there was answers in the Course. And see, the idea of the Course in Miracles is this stuff that we call guilt. You know, we feel guilty, we feel wrong, inherently wrong. That's separation. That's separation. And in unity, we don't believe in that, right? But we're not separate. But here's what I know from being a therapist for a very long time, is that if you feel bad, if you do something and you did something wrong, you're supposed to feel bad. If you did something wrong, feel bad. If you acted wrong, if you thought wrong, if feel bad. Here's the point. Don't wallow in it. You are not victim. You are not separate. So much of what we're talking about today is feel your pain. Feel it, feel it, feel it. Don't deny it. Move on. And we're going to talk about the move on. But James was talking about the children being here and seeing the innocence. And it's that word innocence that the Course talks so much about, is that you are already innocent. Wouldn't it be remarkable if we felt innocent? If we saw the world as innocent, instead of coming at us, trying to get us, we have to defend against something. What a different perspective. And that's what the Course does. It heals the mind. It heals the perspective. And that's what unity, Charles and Myrtle are always talking about, healing that point of view so that we can create a world we can all live in and we all want to live in. When I think about that, you think about if you go in front of a judge and you hear, you're guilty. Well, what would it be like to hear in front of that judge, you're innocent? It's freedom. Well, the judge is in our mind. The judge is within ourselves. So keep pronouncing yourself as innocent and realize your interconnection of all life. And this is one of the sweetnesses of the Course to me, and they have all these beautiful phrases, is that as you release your blocks, what you experience is love's presence. Ooh. If you release your blocks, you come into the awareness of love's presence. Wow. So as we're transforming ourselves and asking ourselves why and practicing and doing it, the other thing that was really powerful for me with A Course in Miracles is that I was in a room full of people who were dedicated to daily forgiveness practice. I'd always talked about forgiveness, that thing we do. But this was like a way to go into it, that you do a daily practice. So if you come here on Fridays, it's also online. There's a lot of ways that you can join the community and have a daily practice in the Course in Miracles. I want to talk a little bit, too, about another system, the Ho'oponopono. You all have heard that because it's very popular in New Thought. Has everybody heard it? The Ho'oponopono 4 lines? Okay. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Well, I was privileged. See, let me tell you a little bit about the history first, about how we got these 4 lines. There was a woman named Morna, and I'm going to butcher these Hawaiian names. I'm sorry. I just am. But Morna Simone learned it from her mother, Leah. Leah was one of the last, and Morna was a native Hawaiian. And like so many indigenous cultures, when they heal, they utilize the interconnection of life. So they're looking at that interconnection, including the land, the person, the family, the community, and the land. The land experienced it just like you did, but in a different way. But the land was here. It's not just dirt. It's alive. So as we embrace that, So anyway, Lila was one of Morna's mother. And Lila was one of the last kahunas, priests, in Hawaii. She was so strong that she was made the handmaiden to the Queen of Hawaii, the last Queen of Hawaii. And so there was a sense that she was working a cultural healing of bringing in peace. And of course, Lila teaches her daughter, Morna. Well, Morna was a massage therapist. Where's my body workers? Hey, okay. So she was a massage therapist. But she wasn't just a massage therapist. She also operated health spas. And she operated health spas in, I think it was like a Hilton Head in Hawaii or something like that. But it was big ones. And people that came to Morna for her healing were people that we recognize. Arnold Palmer, President Lyndon Johnson, Jackie Kennedy. Those are the people that went to her for healing. But as she was very modern, she realized she wanted to make a process that was accessible and available, and to take it out of the sense that I am going to heal you. She wanted something that people could do. So she developed these four lines, and distilled this ancient wisdom down to these 4 lines. And she toured, this before the internet, she toured U.S., Europe, and other countries teaching this. And in her tour, she came to where I was living, Charleston, West Virginia. And I got to study with Morna for the weekend. Now, I had just left my beloved Christian community, and that's always a little hard thing to do, but I was looking and I was seeking, and I really wanted lots of stuff. So anything that came along, honey, I was there and I was going to do it. And so I just went to her. I had no idea, So Friday night, she was teaching us these 4 lines. But you know what I remember? What I remember more than anything else was her. She was so humble. She was simple in a good way. Simple. And she had this presence that I didn't even have that language for. But today I look back and I see there was a stillness about her, a balance. And when she taught these 4 lines in Ho'oponopono, it wasn't like, oh, forgive me because I yelled the dog. No, it was a balancing, harmony. It was a communal system, bringing yourself and all people together. So she talked Friday night, and I just thought it was real cool, and I had no idea what she was talking about. But we were all going to get on the bus on Saturday morning and go down to the West Virginia coal country. She wanted to see a strip mine. And we were going to do Ho'oponopono at the strip mine. Now, this is the part where I start crying. Oh, God. But anyway, so we all went down there, and we were just, blah, 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 talking, and, as women do on the bus. But she did not. She was like, it was almost like, today I would say she was doing her practice. She was just doing these 4 lines. Once in a while, she might mention that we should be maybe doing these practices. And we thought, okay, we'll do. But when we got there, see, I'd already been there because I was a little rabble-rouser, and I'd been in there with my protest signs and all this stuff. We went there, and she got out, and very quietly. And I don't ever remember her saying, okay, as a group, we're all going to do this. How you feeling? None of that. She just got up and started doing the 4 lines. And pretty soon, we all caught on that we should be doing the 4 lines. And I was sobbing and I was crying. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God. She was not. She was not. She embodied this presence, this love, this vastness that was able to hold the scars. And what she told us was something amazing. And that was, she talked about this land as alive. And she talked about, you know how like in chaplaincy or when we're talking with one-on-one and we go, okay, now don't tell anybody this. You know, yeah, you got that. Well, there's a sense of confidentiality and you're holding sacred space. That's what she was doing. She was not going to tell us what she got because that's confidential to this being called the land. And so we did our practices. And I just remember like when she were getting ready to get back up on the bus, we were all kind of standing in line waiting for her to get up. And I was, crying and doing my little thing. And she touched my arm. And she said, and I looked at her. She did have tears in her eyes. But she was calm. And she said, this land will need much healing. And I got on the bus, and it was like transmission had occurred. I was calm. I was peaceful. I didn't have this language then, but what I know, I was in stillness and silence and a great spaciousness. And on the way home, I could just do the lines. So as we today, what I'll do is that I'd like for us to just say these lines together so we can get the sense of it. And then later when we do the meditation, I'm going to go more into it. We'll lead real meditation. But the first line says, I'm sorry, because that shows our responsibility because of our interconnectedness. No matter, I wasn't down there in the strip mine, but I still had a human being responsibility because we have a collective consciousness. And it's that collective consciousness that we don't have to spill our hate out to, and our fears and our emotions, because it comes back. So we say, I'm sorry. And that acknowledges our actions. We say, please forgive me. Forgiveness opens us. We get ready for something. And we recognize this need for compassion for ourselves and understanding. And we say, thank you. This is where we just receive our innocence. Isn't this amazing? We say thank you because we're recognizing. This gratitude helps us recognize in humility a deep sense of acceptance. And then I love you. Very much so as we teach in unity, love is a power. It's a harmonizing power. It's that integration. So that we're working with some vast systems that include ourselves and all ones. So say these lines with me. If you're willing to and you want to close your eyes, that's fine. But I just want you to say these 4 lines. And I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Now hold in your mind some situation, some person, some event that you would like to say this to. And just feel the shift in your mind, body. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world, but it can be something. And you're just saying it now. We say it again. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Okay, one more time. To anyone or anything, including yourself, I'm going to say it again. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So, in conclusion, I just want you to know that as spiritual beings, we're open to the path of forgiveness, and the path of forgiveness leads us to a deep and compassionate understanding of who we already are. So thank you.
I'm not very good with mics, but I did want to say a few words. I'm going to play a song for you that means a lot to me. Short story. I had what you might call a tumultuous relationship with my mom for many decades. And there was some estrangement involved. And she got cancer, and it was stage 4, and she wasn't given much time, but she lived almost 3 years. And during that time, I did spend some time with her, and we did what we could to repair things. It was still a little icky, but she did ask me to play this song at her graveside, which I did. And I don't know whether or not she took it. She was asking to ask me to forgive her, but that's how I took it, and that's how I used it, and that's how I play it. So this is Amazing Grace.
I invite you to turn within. And just let yourself feel the amazing grace present here and in our lives. And drop to your heart. Just take some deep breaths. You may feel or see or experience a form of blue light surrounding you as you say and acknowledge responsibility for any disharmony that you may have contributed to in the world and in your life. You may hear it from me or say it silently or say it just in a whisper. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And just breathe that in. Humility. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Feel that request. You may want to say it, feel it. As the blue light shifts to green, you might feel that green or see that green or not even relate to it. As you say, please forgive me. Not just from others, oneself. We recognize the need for self-compassion, understanding. For self-compassion, for understanding. Please forgive me. Any kind of bodily ache, mental rumination, grudge, please forgive me. Thank you. This gratitude shifts from the negativity to the appreciation. We accept, totally accept this forgiveness, this grace in our lives that is so transformative. And we're so grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We open to integration, the pink light of I love you. However that makes, it doesn't have to make sense. It's not mental. It's just the transformative love. Love that we live in, abide in, and have our being in. I love you. I love you. I love you. We open to the land, to our community, to all people. I love you. In whatever way I can muster. It doesn't even have to be real. Because there's a part of you that is real, that knows this deep love. I love you. Connect more and more with the part that can love. I love you. I love you. And now we send this out to the world. First to the land, right here. This beautiful land, this oasis. Unity of Greenville is this oasis that is a healing refuge. I love you. And that love extends out through the city and on this stage like rippling pools. Like ripples. I love you around the world. At whatever level you connect to the one that can love within you. I love you. I love you. To this world, we raise ourselves high above the earth. High above the earth, and we look down at this little blue planet. This precious being. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And as you start that descent down, and feel that healing love surrounding you, and allow for yourself to be transformed. Acknowledge what's changed. Acknowledge what's different. And that when you see others, we know that they will see a reflection in your eyes of their innocence. Of their innocence. And so that is, we take that 3 deep breaths, we open our hearts and we open our eyes to one another, and we're ready to take this out into the world, to all that we meet, knowing that there is a great oneness. There is a great oneness. We are one power, one presence in this world and in our lives. It is God. It is good. Thank you.